legendary soldier monks, warriors of God, and endorsed by the Pope. Holy men, yet devilish fighters, who swore to protect and defend. They swore to poverty, yet they were richer than kings. These men are the Knights Templar. The origin of the Knights Templar can date back to the year 1118, where a French knight named Hugues de Payens founded a military order, calling it the Poor Knights of the Temple of King Solomon, later known as the Knights Templar, due in part to the large groups of pilgrims traveling from Western Europe to the Holy Land. However, many were killed while crossing through Muslim-controlled territories, thus the need for a military order. This order set up headquarters on the sacred Temple Mount and pledged to protect Christian visitors to the city.
Hugues de Payens proposed the idea of a contingent of fighting monks whose responsibility would be to guard the Holy Land and to safeguard passage of pilgrims on their way from Europe to the Holy Land and to defend the holy city of Jerusalem.
King Baldwin likes the idea, and the Templars are born.
In the beginning, the Knights Templars' membership was about 9. However, in time it grew to thousands, yet they weren't endorsed by the people who they were fighting for. Yet, in 1129, the Knights received the formal endorsement of the Catholic Church through Pope Urban II. Thanks from the endorsement of the Catholic Church, new recruits and lavish donations began pouring in from across Europe. Though the Templars themselves took vows of poverty, the order was allowed to accrue wealth and land. Due to the order becoming bigger, stronger, and successful, they adopted a code of conduct. The issues involved with this code of conduct involved spirituality, meditation, charity, and they also encouraged the noble ideals of chivalry and to promote nobility through deeds of charity and honor. They also pledged to support the poor, the sick, the unjustly accused, to stand against the oppression and to protect freedom and liberty. However, they also developed a reputation as fierce warriors during this time through key battles of the Crusades. They were also driven by religious fever and forbidden from retreating unless vastly outnumbered, which in turn developed that reputation. During this time, they also established their iconic uniforms, which include white habits emblazoned with a red cross. At the height of their influence, they boasted a sizable fleet of ships, owned the island of Cyprus, and served as a primary lender to European monarchs and nobles, which ultimately led to their demise. On the height of their influence, the order was wealthy, powerful, yet on the verge of collapse. The decline of the Knights Templar can basically be attributed to 3 key happenings. First, the Muslims retook Jerusalem and turned the tide of the Crusades. European support for the Crusades began to dwindle in due part. Second, the Templars' popularity met the same fate as they clashed with other Christian military orders and participated in a series of unsuccessful
Sultans. Support for the Crusades dwindles back in Europe.
The Crusades, over a period of time, became more expensive and in both life and resources for Europe, and began to look less and less like the kind of thing that would work in the long run.
After the fall of Acre in 1291, you have a serious disillusionment with the idea of the Crusades, as the common populace saw the resources of Europe and the resources of the military going towards these holy wars that seemed to be futile. The role of the Templars seemed to be less tenable.
And last, in 1303, the Knights Templar moved to Paris, France. During this time, the French king Philip IV aimed at bringing down the order, since the Templars had denied the indebted ruler additional loans and expressed interest in forming their own state in southeastern France. This denial of loans and wealth enraged King Philip IV. However, let's not forget that the Knights Templar were powerful, wealthy, and probably more wealthy than most monarchs within Europe. He responded on October 13, 1307, when scores of French Templars were arrested, along with the order's Grand Master, Molay. These men were charged with offenses ranging from heresy, devil worship, and spitting on the cross, to homosexuality, fraud, and financial corruption. In due part, the men were brutally tortured. However, King Philip did not stop there. He convinced Pope Clement V to launch his own inquiry.
The most common form of torture was the rack. A rack was simply 3 triangulated boards with a rope attached to a winch, and the idea was to dislocate the wrists and the ankles. In Paris alone, over 100 Templars are tortured, including their elderly Grand Master, Jacques de Molay.
I confess!
In the year 1310, dozens of Templars were burned at the stake in Paris for recanting their earlier confessions during their trials. Even the Grand Master, Molay, would suffer the same punishment in 1314. After all of this, under pressure from Philip, Pope Clement reluctantly dissolved the Knights Templar in 1312. Although most historians agree that the Knights Templar fully disbanded 700 years ago, we can still make connections to them today. Some people actually believe the order went underground and remains in existence to this day. Certain organizations, most notably the Freemasons, revived some of the medieval knights' symbols and traditions.
The Freemasons, one of the largest and oldest fraternal organizations in the world. 14 American presidents have been Freemasons. Many of the founding fathers, including George Washington, were Freemasons. The Freemasons keep their rituals secret, but over the years, illustrations and descriptions have leaked out. They show an uncanny resemblance to the Knights Templar.
Yet still, some relate the Templars to myths and legends, such as they dug up the Holy Grail while occupying the Temple Mount, and they also harbored a secret capable of destroying the Catholic Church. All of these myths have found their way into popular books and films to this. Throughout history, certain organizations are created for the betterment of the people. As for the Knights Templar, they set out to defend the Holy Land and its visitors. At the same time, they gathered unprecedented wealth and undoubtedly became one of the strongest and most powerful organizations of its time. However, the downfall can be directly related to this power and wealth. Through the work of others, such as the King of France and the Pope, their demise became a reality. However, the Knights Templar will never disappear from our history, or just maybe the present day.